Hey, I just thought I would get back on here. Well, first of all, hello, welcome to my channel, and thank you for 24 subscribers. I don't know who that is, but I thank you. Anyway, I just thought I was thinking about dating. Dating is hard in your 40s. Did you realize that? I don't know. I'm just saying this out loud, but I've been thinking about, when I was in my 30s, I was like, yay, God's going to just bring me someone now and drop it in my lap, and a lot of people were telling me, oh, Leah, you just intimidate men, that's why you haven't met anybody. Really? I am intimidate? Honestly, I just thought I was too picky. I had, certain ideas of what the guy should look like and everything. But it's different when you're 32 from you're 42. I think when I was 32, I would get crushes. I'd have crushes. Serious crushes on men. I'd be like, oh, he's cute. But then I could never, talk to him. I was waiting for him to talk to me or whatever. And so I would just pray. And then I went through a time. I always hated when guys on dating online go, so, you mean you've never dated? I'm like, I dated, but I waited, really late. Most people were dating in their 20s. When I went to a predominantly white church, I didn't have guys knocking down, my door going, hey, baby, what's up? I want to date you. It's more like the closest interracial dating I would experience at a predominantly white church was crickets. If the guys did like me, they were weird. They talked too much. They were very, into, debating theology with me. And I'd be like, oh, in my heart going, can they pay attention to me, please? And they wouldn't pay attention to me. And so then when they started dating, they would date somebody that looked Hispanic or somebody. And I was just like, really? That's how my life is? I don't get picked. Because here's the thing. I think the problem with, sorry, the camera's ratchet. I was trying to hide my mess in the back. Sorry about that. But anyway, that basically, there's this magic number that all people in the faith community will say, well, if you do this right, God will grant you a husband. If you're organized, God will grant you a husband. If you do this, God will give you that. I'm a genie in the bottle, baby. It's do we have to sing a Britney Spears song moment? Really? We just rub the Bible and God will grant us something? God is not our master genie. I wish he was a genie in our bottle. But, it's not. Is it fair to make him our genie? Why is that? And I think that's part of, me being at ORU is that we're being taught, hey, if you follow these great grand rules, that God will drop you off a man at the quarter of 36 and, I don't know, 36 and Jesus moment. You're like, is he? So we have a lot of do's and don'ts, that this, there, and God shall bless it. And you're like, wait, so why did I not get granted that spouse at that moment? Why everybody else get a spouse and I don't? Am I sinful? But I think a lot of times women are taught, especially with the purity culture, I'm kind of jumping subjects, but purity culture, we're taught about hey, if you do all these rules, God will grant you this. But it leads us into that weird Josh Duggar moment, even though somebody on Instagram said we're not supposed to talk about him. But anyway, but what happens is that we make God a genie. He's not a genie. Don't make God a genie unless you want Britney Spears to sing I'm a genie in the bottle and all. That sounds even weird. But anyway, it's just God is not a genie. He's not. And I think that's what I've been taught is like, you know, in my mind, my parents didn't do this. I really don't think my parents really taught me the whole purity culture in all the way. It's just like I kind of embrace that. And sometimes it still comes up because, hey, you get rid of a guy by saying, I want to wait till marriage. They run away. You're like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Because you really don't like them. Or you're just like, let me get rid of you. Because I've done online dating and everything. But see, here's the thing. Purity culture, Christian culture tells you, you stay in church and you will find that man. But have you noticed, the women get all prepared. They get all prepared. They're waiting on God. They're doing all those little steps. They're not drinking wine. You know, they're not, talking and, talking with men about sex, just being, they have all the rules. But then on the other side, the Christian men are like still engaged in porn. They still try to get what they can get. And if you tell a guy, well, I'm waiting for a Christian guy waiting for marriage, you're like, what? What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? And you're like, no, I'm not crazy. I made a vow. See, I made a vow with God that I'd wait. Does it work? We're like, what? Does it work? You're like, well, why does it matter? So you know that the guys are not way. But then you have the extreme men who are like women. There's this guy, which I have to do a video of. It's just called Dominion Dating. It's coming out August 1st. But ladies, you cannot be career-minded if you want to do this. I have to find the website and I'll put it in my comments section or something if you want to look at it. But it's like, the men are the men who've been homeschooled. They did the purity with the purpose or whatever, true love ways. They read I Kiss Dating Goodbye, which we need to kick I Kiss Dating Goodbye because it just makes us weird and creepy. But anyway, they say that women who work outside cannot be career-minded. But then it puts us at fault again that women encourage sexual sin. Like, it's our responsibility. It's not our responsibility to be the sexual gatekeepers. I noticed that, all the time, I was like, well, I gotta keep the guy, not talking about sex now. We can't talk about it. See my lip? We can't talk about it. But I've learned if I don't want to talk to a guy, I'd be like, that's too early. Because I look at him and I'm like, I'm not attracted to you at all. You're not, talking to me about anything that's exciting. You're just being, weird and leery and cringy and disgusting. I'm just like, I usually use an excuse. If I really don't like a guy, I'll tell him, you know what? I think I'll wait for marriage. And I think you're weird. I just be really weird. But I don't know. I feel like you could go to the extreme. You could be purity with a purpose, or you could be into that point where men want to dominate and tell you women can't have a life outside of the home, and then the women who do have a career outside their home, they're feminazis. Okay, well, maybe I'm a feminist, but not completely. When I was younger, I wanted to stay home and have kids, have 12, 13 kids, be just have a bunch of kids. But now at 42, I'm like, maybe I should just adopt. Be a foster parent or something. But I think what happens is that I don't know how the church helps people who have been in purity culture and then once you get in your 40s, how do you monitor that so that you don't go to extreme before you live in rules and regulation, but also have that freedom in Christ. But you can do all the things right and still God might not give you that husband. God might not give you that marriage you want. But in the meantime, is God still God? But, like, I think, I don't know, like, I feel like with the word of faith and everything, I was like, well, you just need to put this out here, buy your stuff for your wedding. And I'm like, ew. Because what do you do if it doesn't happen? Like, what if that's not the purpose that God has for you at this moment? Not to say that God would never give you what you want, but do we make God our genie in the bottle? Or do we need to watch I Dream of Genie? I don't know. It's just kind of like, if we make God our master genie, we'll get angry at God if He doesn't give us what we want at that moment. I mean, there's nothing wrong with preparing. I feel like preparation is key. Because some things I haven't prepared for, like in marriage, like, it's taken me a while to want to cook. I admit. Sometimes I don't like cooking. I think. But it's just like, do we tell people, hey, you have to earn, you do all these steps, you'll earn God's blessing. Because you can follow all the rules. I mean, you can read, like, a lot of people who, like, followed the rules of life, and it still didn't work out for them. Or it's just like, I think it's a sad teaching that in the church is that you do this, God will grant this. But sometimes He doesn't do that. But in the meantime, what shall you do? It's like, do you wait? I mean, I think God wants us to do active waiting. I don't think He wants us to do passive waiting. That used to bother me the men at ORU or wherever. They're like, I'm waiting on God's will. And you're like, waiting on God's will to do what? I don't want to mess up. Which means they're like paralyzed and they don't know what they're doing. Like I remember this one guy, I talked to him and he was all like, I'm waiting on God to give me the direction. I was like, God will just guide you. Because I kind of suffer from that too, where I'll be like, well, I think I'll wait till God tells me what I should do. And you wait, and all you hear is, da-da. It's like, should the Jeopardy song be playing? Do, 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 do. So I don't know. It's like, well, it kind of goes with the purity culture. It's like we're waiting. We do all the steps. It's the same thing with God's will. We wait for all the steps. But I feel like if it's immoral, then the will of God is telling you don't do it. If it's about killing somebody, don't do it. That is just automatically a no. Don't do it. But like I think the problem with being in a Christian church or just, raised in the faith is that you get to this, you get paralyzed. You're just like, what do I do? So I don't know. I think, now being 42, I just kind of like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I feel like, I find like I'm a little more open than I used to be 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh, that's something wrong with that lady. Something's wrong with her. She's a little, she's going to go too far and deconstruct. But I think it's trying to be wise with, your upbringing, how it is. And just, I guess it's a daily thing with asking God what you should do. But also not living in fear. Not, being in rules. I mean, like, think about it. In Bible times, I'm sure people followed the rules in their lives, still kind of, like, had problems, So I don't know. I think it's about, I don't know. I just have so many things about with dating and with whether it's right, what you should do. If you follow this, will it make it right in the end, So, and I was just thinking about it. I thought I had a more clear, forgive the ramblings of life, but I think a lot of times people we have too many rules. And we expect God to be a genie. Like, I was listening to this weekend. Somebody said, well, if you just, get your wedding dress and get this and get that, then your man will come. And it's like, huh? Really? Will it work? I don't know. I don't. Because I used to have a wedding trunk. Like, I had a trunk. Now it's full of, like, notebooks and homework. And I had, like, my little dishes ready. But then it didn't have dishes or wedding stuff. I had a wedding little fabric thing I made with rings and a heart. Now it's just a trunk cover table. So I don't know. I just think I'm wondering if we're preparing young women in the church in the wrong way, because if we're telling women to wait, but we're not telling guys to wait, and we're making it the woman's fault when a man sins, like with our clothing, that's not fair. It doesn't help. It doesn't help us. It really doesn't. But, like, I noticed, like, I think back in, like, the early 2000s when I did, like, a kind of like a purity culture thing at a local church in Tulsa. The men did one and the women did one. But I don't know what it's like now. Excuse me about the... But I don't know if it's different. And I don't know if people have that same idea about the whole thing of waiting. But now, like, in my 40s, men have already been married. They've had children. And so now they're like, we ain't waiting. You're like, what? We don't wait. You don't wait? No. Because this is so wrong with you if you wait. Like, what? And no, because I feel like people take longer with commitment, I think, now in their 40s, because they're a little scared. Like, they've been married. And, like, I think it's wrong to teach Christian women in the evangelical church just to wait. Like, I feel like they should start dating, but have rules with their dating. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's just trying to figure out, like, how to go about that. Like, because you can go off into the deep end, I think, and get too many rules. And if you have too many rules, you just kind of, the world explodes. I don't know if the world explodes, but it feels like it explodes. Pardon my little parakeet hair here, but no, it's just, I think the world explodes somehow. And I haven't really figured out the perfect balance of anything. But if you enjoyed this wonderful my explanation about dating and me coming out of the purity culture moment, because I've been in it so long that I'm deconstructing from purity culture. That is exactly what I'm doing. Not from my faith, but deconstructing from this, because I think it kind of stops women. It makes us feel like we should be ashamed, or it just makes it, we become the gatekeepers. It's not our responsibility to be the sexual gatekeepers. We are to be honorable with our bodies, but it is not our responsibility to be the sexual gatekeepers for men, because that means that man does not have discipline or self-control. And if he doesn't, drop him. Especially if you're just fighting that all the time and you feel like you have to be responsible to be like, I've got to keep him from sin. You're like, okay. Why is that my responsibility? That's what I've been telling myself, is that it's not my responsibility anymore. So now I just tell people, you know what? If that's what you like, go find somebody that likes that. Because I don't, But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. Kind of like my own deconstruction of purity culture. I kind of disagree with it now. I think it kind of puts women in bondage. It just, especially Christian women, we You know, we've gone through that kiss dating goodbye, Purity with a Purpose, Lady in Waiting, and all this, and it just kind of keeps us stuck. So I've noticed I have friends who are still kind of thinking like that, and it doesn't help you. It doesn't mean you have to be wild and kicking it and being weird and strange. It just means you have to find the right balance. And you can't follow all these rules and regulations that'll keep you, you know, in God's genie in the bottle moment, word of faith moment. You just have to be like, okay, God, what is it you want me to do? Okay, I've said enough, and I'll probably do another video about this. It's just, it bothers me, and it's one of my pet projects. And I'm just like, what do I do? I probably need to write a book. I just haven't figured out how to write the book. But anyway, if you like it, subscribe, hit the notification, and I will get back to you. Bye.